So we're going to try something different today. You're going to have your notes out in front of you, and while you have your notes in front of you, I'm going to be following the same notes you are on this screen. So if you follow this video and you pay special close attention, today you're going to learn about this concept called MAD. And the MAD stands for something. And that something is on your first part of your sheet where it says MAD. What does it mean? MAD stands for mean absolute deviation. And this is a measurement that is important in statistics because what it does is it tells you how consistent is your data. And data is just the numbers. So how consistent is your data? So the word consistent means it doesn't go too high, it doesn't go too low, it kind of just stays the same. You hear the word consistent a lot in sports. If a player is a consistent player, that player is, is not the best. He's probably not the worst. He's, keeps the same. Let's say if he's points, if it's basketball points, he scores the same points pretty much consistently. So he's very consistent, and sometimes in sports that's what you want. You want a consistent player. So the mean absolute deviation tells us if our data is consistent. And so that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Now, after you fill those two things out on your note sheet, you can go ahead and put your pencil down and you can pay attention, because I'm going to show you how to calculate the MAD, or the mean absolute deviation. So instead of saying mean absolute deviation, you're just going to hear me say MAD, because MAD is a lot simpler to say. So our next thing that we are going to do is I'm going to give you an example of how to find the MAD, and this example is not in your note sheet. The example is not in your note sheet, so you don't have to write this down. You just watch and listen and pay attention. If you watch, listen, and pay attention to this, this is going to be pretty easy for you. So the steps to calculating MAD are right here in front of you on the screen, plus it's on your note sheet as well. The very first step is to find the average, which is the mean of your data set. So here in this example, you'll notice that I have Johnny's test scores. Johnny's test scores these are percentages: 87%, 94%, 72%, 65%, 97%, 77%. So those are his scores. We're going to find his MAD to determine if his test scores are consistent. So is he a consistent test taker? So the first thing that we have to do is follow step one, which is find the average, or the mean, of the data set. So to find the mean, if you don't remember, you can always look at the process chart. The process chart tells you exactly what to do, but the mean is to take all the data values, add them up, and then divide by the number of data values you have. When we find the MAD, we don't actually have to put them in order from least to greatest. So to save some time, we're not going to have to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up all the numbers: 87 plus 94 plus 72 plus 65 plus 97 and plus 77. Then I'm going to divide all that by the amount of values I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divide it by 6. So when I do this in my calculator, I want to make sure I add all these numbers up first and then hit enter and then divide by 6. And when I do that, I get a mean of 82%. So the mean here is 82%. Step 1. Done with step 1. Step 2. Subtract the number I found in step 1 from each data point. And there's a hint. All values need to be positive, so remove all negative signs in your answer. For step number 2, what I do is I list these data points in order vertically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order these vertically. 87, 94, 72, 65, 97, and 77. List these all in order, and then I'm going to move this out of the way. Subtract the number you found in step 1 from each data point. Here's each data point. I'm going to subtract it from what I found in step 1, which is 82. Everything gets subtracted from 82. Just like this. Now some of these will be easy to subtract, some of them won't. So you got your calculator there and you can do all your subtraction. But I already did all this subtraction. This one is 5, this one's 12, this one is negative 10, this one is negative 17, this one's 15, and this one is negative 5. Now the thing to remember is that all values need to be positive. So if I got some negatives, I'm going to change those to positives. I got a negative here, got a negative there, got a negative there. I'm going to change all those to positives. Cross those off so I don't use them. Alright, step 2 is done. Step 3, find the average or the mean of the distances found in step 2. So this is step 2, this is step 1. So what I need to do is find the average of these answers. The average is the mean. So I do the exact same thing. I'm going to add 5 plus 12 plus 10 plus 17 plus 15 plus 5. And I'm going to divide that by the number of data values, which is the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divide by 6. When I do this in my calculator, I wind up with the number 10.67. Let me write that bigger. 10.67. This right here is the MAD. That's all you need to do to find the MAD. Now, what does the MAD tell us? This is where step 4 comes into play. The answer you get from step 3 is the MAD. This is step 3. The closer the MAD is to 0, the more consistent the data. This number is not very close to 0. Okay? So in this case, Johnny is probably not a very good consistent, I shouldn't say good, a consistent test taker. If you even look at his data set, he's got 65% and he's got one at 97%. A consistent person would probably be a little bit closer. Those numbers would probably be a little bit closer. So in this case, his MAD tells us that he's not a very consistent test taker. So, now, pick up your pencil. We are going to do the first example on your sheet together. So student A has these test scores. Student B has these test scores. Find the MAD for each student and determine who the more consistent test taker is. So we're going to determine who's the more consistent test taker. So, and if at any point I'm going too fast, we can always pause the video and then keep going. Alright, so if I'm going too fast, pause the video and then continue going. So the first thing we need to do is find student A. What is their first step? First step, find the average or the mean of the data set. So what I want to do for the student A is add 85 plus 89 plus 82 plus 78 plus 89, and I'm going to divide that all by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points. Divide by 5. This will get me the mean of student A. The mean for student A, if you calculate all these and then divide by 5, should be 84.6. I need to do the same thing for student B. I'm going to change my color for student B. Student B. Add up all his scores, 70 plus 85 plus 72 plus 95 plus 83, and I'm going to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points as well. When I add all of those numbers up and then divide by 5, I will get a mean score of 51, or excuse me, not 51, 81. So these are the mean or the average scores for student A and student B. What we want to determine is who is more consistent. So we need to find the MAD. What we need to do is we need to subtract all the data values for student A from 84.6. Then we need to do the same thing for student B. Instead of 84.6, we're going to use 81. So let's start with student A. I'll change my colors for student A. Remember, list all of these vertically. So I'm going to list 85, 89, 82, 78, 89. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract all of those from 84.6. 84.6. 84.6. 4.6. And the last one's 84.6. Okay? So that step is not very difficult to do. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to calculate all of those answers. I've done them already. So this one is 0.4. This one is 4.4. This one is negative 2.6, but we're going to change that to a positive because we want all positives. Negative 6.6, we're going to make that a positive. And the last one is 4.4. So, change that to a positive, change that to a positive. And that's all you have to do for student A. I'm going to do student B over here. 70, 85, 72, 95, 83, and then I'm going to subtract that. I used green, so I'm going to use green, from the mean for student B, which is 81. Subtract 81, subtract 81, subtract 81, subtract 81. My answers are going to be in red. I already did these answers for us. Pretty easy. First one is negative 11, but that will change to a positive. Second one will be 4. Third one will be negative 9, but we'll change that to a positive. 14 and 2. I'm going to change both of these to positives before I forget. Alright, so that is all I need to do for step 2. Step 3. Find the average or the mean of the distances found in step 2. Here are my distances in step 2. Okay, so I have to find their means. Start with student A. I'm going to do 0.4 plus 4.4 plus 2.6 plus 6.6 plus 4.4. 0.4 plus 4.4 plus 2.6 plus 6.6 plus 4.4, and all divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I do that, I get an answer of 3.68. This is the MAD for student A. I'm going to box that in so I don't forget it. That's how you find the MAD for student A. Now we're going to compare that to student B. So for student B, I do 11 plus 4 plus 9 plus 14 plus 2, all divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I add all those up, then divide by 5, I get an answer of 8. And this is the MAD for student B. Once I've calculated the MAD, I need to make sure I'm answering the question or the statement that they want me to do. They want me to find the MAD for each student and determine who the more consistent test taker is? Well, the closer the MAD is to 0, the more consistent the data. So which one is closer to 0? It's definitely not 8. So that means A, I'm going to give it a star around this one. A, student A, is the more consistent test taker. So, you follow all of the same steps that we just showed you. The process chart gives you step-by-step instructions. What I want you to do is example 2, 3, and 4. When you do example 2, 3, and 4, you need to make sure that you're trying to first find the mean of whatever you're comparing, and then step 2, subtract that answer from all the data points. You need to make sure you do that. Alright, so work on those 3, and when you work on those 3, then we'll go over the answers to make sure you are correct.